Fred the Goods Engine. The Great Preservation Railway was in the need of a ballast engine to handle the heavy loads from the ballast mine near Charles Bright. They needed a strong engine which could handle the load and work good on the railway. The director found Fred, a Class 28 from BR, which had been put out of service in 1960. The director decided to buy it, and Fred came the next day. Fred arrived pulling a brake van. He came to the sheds and talked to Jonathan, talked to Will. Nice to meet you. I'm Fred, your new ballast engine to handle the ballast loads from the ballast coal mine, the ballast mine. Will then started talking. Oh, you're the new engine. Welcome to the Great Preservation Railway, Fred. This is Charles Bright, the premier station and the last station for the Southern Railway. What's the Southern Railway? The Southern Railway is the railway which works alongside us. But you're here to deliver ballast. The ballast mine is right next to the station. It's a different line heading through the scenic route. I'll tour you to the ballast mine. I'll shunt your train and join you. Oh, okay. Fred backed up and Will shunted his trucks. Be careful with these trucks. They're the ones from the Lancaster. From Crater Station. Crater Station was a station no one ever liked talking about. For one reason, Crater Station had been the site of three accidents along the main line from Liverpool to Doncaster. It was a little siding, but in that siding, the signalmen were very drunk. The points to the yard were very old, which means they would cut out. And there had been 4 accidents along the line. One chap named George, a Class 28, the George Hughes experimental design, had been puffing along the line when the train had crashed into it. And then another train with Walrus had been pulling a goods train during World War II and had crashed into a diesel named Neville, who had been stopped at the yard. And finally, the last one was a fish train pulled by Arthur. Arthur had been pulling along the line when the points had been locked because one of the engines had tried to move one goods train into a siding, and it bumped and caused the points to jam, leading to Arthur crashing through a brake van and pushing the train forward and leaving him on the ground. And the final accident was just before the merge between the Southern Railway, the LNER, the LMS, and the Great Western Railway. The engine called Ferris had been pulling a passenger train, when he'd collided with a goods train and fell off the line. His coach, the front bogie of the coach, had broken, and Crater was known as the Crater of Crashes. So Fred understood why they were known as the trucks which had the most horrid lives. Are they nice, or are they like normal troublesome trucks? They used to before their accident on Arthur's train. Oh God. Yeah, they were on Arthur's train. Arthur crashed and they feel guilty. That's why they have never been troublesome since. Right, I take them with care? Yes. You don't want to be guilty for their deaths, yep. Right, let's take them. Come on, pull, pull, pull. Come on. Wow. How would you? Oh, this branch is so small, I think I could speed a little bit. Don't speed because we've had several accidents trying to build this thing. Matthew had an accident. Is that passenger engine? Yep. Matthew had an accident with the train, crashed into a siding and caused one of the rails to fall, causing his tender to fall into it. Fred continued taking it. He reached the quarry and parked in a siding, and they dropped off. What's that hole and why is there tracks? Oh, that's an abandoned quarry. It's an abandoned mine where old steam trains had to go in. One does, and that's Neil. The ballast engine who delivered ballast. He does it like every week to resupply ballast numbers from the mine. Fred reloaded and turned around and pushed the train backwards and pulling it down the line back to the yard. Will was impressed, and so was the director. Your job today, Fred, was incredible. We managed to fill in we got 2 more contracts for ballast. Delivering to Storforth Harbor and Storforth Yard and Storforth Station to build a new line. Yes! So, thank you, sir, but I could have given it to the trucks. The trucks did it all, kind and kept me going. Well, I should thank the trucks. Thank you, trucks. Welcome, sir. Now, trucks. Sorry about your experience, but here you won't get the pain you suffered there. But Charles, we left the old Charles Bright for that place. Wait, really? Yeah, we were scheduled to leave from Charles Bright, but Charles Bright had just closed when we were arriving, so when Arthur arrived, so he had to take us and filled us up with the stuff which was left from the goods people. So Arthur's train wasn't really full, but was filled with tons of pieces which made it heavy, causing the accident. We tried braking, but our air brakes had not been installed. Now they are, but we're still worried. You have a right to be. But here we promise you won't get damaged. Thank you, sir, but I don't know if that's true. Of course it is. You survived that accident, right? Yes, by pure luck. No, because your effort to brake was enough to slow the train down enough just that Arthur would just get dirt all over him and a few debris. Yes, sir. Fred, you will return to the sheds and go to bed. Tomorrow your services are going to be lost because we have tons more ballast which has to be delivered from the mine. And Jack, since the load on the goods has died down, Jack, you will take the ballast from the mine, and Fred will deliver it to the harbor. To Storforth, then the harbor. Yes, sir. That night, Fred told the story about the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway back in 1918. When I was on the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, it was a fine place with my three twins. Also, there was one of the George Hughes designs. His name was George. Yeah, and James. James would continue on becoming the number 5 engine of the Sodor, while George would end up on the crater accident. But me and my twins were very close until Dudley rolled out in 1950. We had joined the LMS at that point, and now we're part of PR. But they still rolled out an idiotic engine. Dudley. 2 members of his class were built for our lab. Dudley was the insufferable twin, while Harwin was one of the kind ones. And Harwin was much liked, while Dudley was very deceive. He would deceive others and make people work for him, like they did to George. day, Dudley crashed into him and caused him to go to the works. He never returned because Dudley had broken his boiler and they didn't have any replacements. George had died that day, and Dudley never got arrested because no one thought Dudley did it. They all thought I was nuts, except my twins, because me, Charlie, were pulling a passenger train, and Hunter, Harrison, and Belle were pulling a goods train in the opposite direction. When we saw what had happened to George, we asked Dudley why he did it. He said, George was a useless one anyways. His experimental class never made it out. George, he was designed to die. Ha 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 ha! And no one will think it was me. I am a genius. I retorted back by saying he was a pure idiot. But by then, the police had arrived and blamed that George had attacked Dudley. But that it was just an accident that Dudley crashed. It was deliberate. When we saw it, here's what he did. He was right next to George. George was just humbly talking to himself while Dudley suddenly changed the points. George tried braking, but it was too late. The points were jammed on him. And Dudley came barreling in, not even braking, smashing the boiler and pushing him off the rails, breaking the cracks in his boiler. And to add to that, he had metal fatigue, meaning metal fatigue is when a steam engine or engine in general has cracks on his boiler from strain. And George had been straining because he had been working lots of goods because the goods had been too much for him. He had get a small syndrome of metal fatigue, but after Dudley's crash, he didn't make it. The story Fred told made everyone shocked. Where's Dudley now? Scrapyard. Sent after what he did to Bear. Oh yeah, Bear. What did he do again? He made everyone believe that Bear was against steam trains. How disgraceful of Dudley. But did Dudley survive? Yes. He's on his heritage railway he doesn't deserve. Was he very big a buddy to George? Yes. George was our cousin, so we protected him like a brother. George and I were close. We would pull passenger trains together most of the time. But after Dudley killed him, George was super weak. The last thing I did with him was take him on one last passenger train. He was very weak but managed to do it. That was before Dudley rammed him. After Dudley rammed him, he asked for the final firing. The director was shocked and so were we, but we attended. And the last thing he said was, "Goodbye, cousins. I will miss you." Dudley didn't attend because at that point he had been sent away for not being able to shunt and crashing goods trains. That's why I'm always cheerful and nice to people. Well, that was a shocking story. Thanks for telling us, Fred. And hope you love this island. We'll give you a tour tomorrow. And that's what they did. They gave him a tour just before he worked. He worked with Jack. They did wonderful together. For the next 3 weeks, they did incredible. Until the next face arrives. But that's a story for another day.